Yo, what's up? We're live a little bit earlier than normal. Kind of helping out Kenny. He had to get off earlier, so we are just gonna do what I was planning on doing in the intervening hour, which is take all these models that I'm working on, put them on bases. Um, so let's just start working on it because I do have some painting stuff that I want to do today. Got all of our base toppers. We're just gonna have to kind of rapid fire through these. So I wanted to be done with this before starting the stream. So it'd mostly just be painting stuff, but been gone for a couple weeks. Yeah, Adepticon, and then kind of like recovery from Adepticon. So back to our normal schedule. Just chilling. Pretty free month. For April, I don't have any events going on. So mostly I'm just doing prep for the next couple of tournaments. And I wanted to get into chaos stuff, which I'll probably paint some on stream, like Huron and some of the other Corsair things, but I have an event at the start of May, and I really want to run a specific type of Red Corsairs, and I want the new Defiler, and I just don't think I'll have enough time to get the Defiler and paint it to the level that I want to paint it to, and also practice the list for the tournament. So what I've decided to do instead is take the existing army that I have that I made for Adepticon, which is really cool, and just take that from 1,000 points to 2,000 points, which is what I'm currently working on. And if you didn't see any of the streams leading up to Adepticon, you can kind of go into a little bit of backstory. So, for a long time, I wanted to do an Orcs army, because I think Orcs are dope, especially the 40k Orcs. However, I have never really enjoyed the way that Orcs play in 40k. Like, they're a horde army, so they need like 1 billion models. The current way that they play, I'm just like not a super fan of. And I kind of made a promise to myself a long time ago that I wouldn't ever really do another horde army. I have a like a table war case that I can sit like on top of my knees when I'm rolling around, and it's really easy to travel with. And I take it around at tournaments, so I don't have to have like a tray with me as well as a case. And so like kind of my rule for an army is it's got to fit in there. The whole army has to fit in that case, or I'm not doing it. And so that kind of rules out Orcs. So it's kind of a win-win. Like, I don't really like how they play. I don't like having 1 million models. So I was like, what if I have Orcs, but they're like pretending to be Space Marines? Because like that's been in the lore before. Orcs try to like copy cool shit they see on the battlefield. They have their own like mega armor knobs, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'll have some Orcs pretending to be Space Marines. And then I was like, well, I could also take this a bit farther and really do some custom stuff. And during my stint in the hospital last year, I was like, well, I'm going to be stuck here, so I might as well do something with my time. And so I taught myself Blender, which which is a 3D modeling and animation software. And so I taught myself to sculpt in Blender, you know, just like the old YouTube university kind of thing. I made a bunch of custom models, and I took some existing stuff and I like kit bashed them and worked on them and sculpted and customized them to make this custom army. And so my two big sci-fi loves is Warhammer and Mobile Suit Gundam. And so I was like, what if we just have like a bunch of Gretchen? Because Gretchen are usually the more technologically minded of the orcs. Like they make their little killikins, their little brat tanks, and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, what if I just have a bunch of Grots, but in power armor, and it all looks like Gundam stuff. So they're like the Gundam fan club kind of cosplaying, which is what all these little dudes are. So if you can kind of see, we've got like the orc power armor. Focus on him. There's a little Gretchen in there. So this guy doesn't have a helmet on, but like the helmet, you can see that Zaku. So that's the variation kind of all over the place with this. And then we've got the some of the larger ones, and I decided that I was going to use the Grey Knight rule set because it gives me some unique opportunities. And you know, I've already got like a Space Marines army, so I was like, I don't really need to do another Space Marine force. And mostly it's for the Nemesis Dread Knights, because that gives me the option to do really cool things. So like, one of my Nemesis Dread Knights is all the Nemesis Dread Knights are like full on mobile suits. So I have one that's the Gundam, it's all orked out. I have another one that's an amphibious mobile suit, and then you can't really see it in frame, but I have one on the desk. I'll show you in a minute that I just made, and I used the torso from the Saturnine Dreadnought. Space down. Let's chill for a minute. Alright, so I got this big boy. Ooh, right here. Big mobile armor, like floating mobile armor. It's all worked out. Yeah, so that's my third Nemesis Dread Knight. And I've got, you know, Terminators and characters and all that kind of stuff. So I'm working on taking all that to a full 2,000 point army, which is kind of what I have here on my desk. It's the third Dread Knight, some units of Purifiers, unit of Interceptors, some additional Terminators, a couple of new characters. And so once I get all these guys glued to bases, I can clear them off to the side, and we can do some paintwork. Thankfully, all these guys stand up on their own pretty good. Let's fix these up. So I can just set them on the base with some glue and they'll do their thing. all these little dudes. Don't you fall over. Stand up straight. Yeah. I like this one. I was using what was this for? Some Blood Bowl? I think it was like the Blood Bowl Black Orcs. I just grabbed some of the goblin heads out of there. Um, 'Cause they have I sculpted some goblin heads for these. Um, but I forgot to print them out with all of these, and so I was just like, ugh, I'm not gonna make an entirely new plate just for like 3 goblin heads. Oh, there's the raid. Big old rage from Kenny. What is up, everybody? Ah, yeah. Happy to help, brother. I'm just like a little I was like getting all these like bases hot off the printer to like glue all this stuff on bases, and so I was like, no, I'm not ready. I got stuff to do. So I'm just like trying to get through putting all these dudes on bases real quick. Damn, what's going on? Yeah, so we're just working on putting these guys on bases. I was kind of going through what all I'm doing just for the replay, even though there wasn't anybody here earlier. But yeah, so back from Adepticon, I had such a great time playing the 1,000 point army for the team tournament of my very very convoluted Gretchen that are pretending to be Grey Knights, but they're also cosplaying with Gundam stuff. Super fun little quirky army that I've really enjoyed painting and like modeling, making all these custom models myself. And so I was like, you know, I want to get into the chaos, all the new chaos stuff, but I want the Defiler as part of my army. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to get a Defiler and paint it the way that I want to paint it, you know, with the level that I want to paint it to, and get enough practice games for this tournament I have in like the first week of May. So I was like, you know what? I'll just like take all the new chaos stuff that I was going to work on, and I'll just like put that off to the side for right now, and I'll take my 1,000 points of this, and I'll turn it into 2,000 points because they paint a lot faster. It's much more simplistic, more cartoony style that I can churn through real fast. But I needed more models. You know, I had to take 1,000 points to make it 2,000, so I had a lot more little infantry dudes like get done. So okay, so add some more Terminators. These guys are. And yeah, Steve. So, like I said, they're all like Gretchen in power armor. Gretchen in power armor. That they're like it's all Gundam themed. They're all like cosplaying as Gundam stuff. Here, see one of our little goblins in there. And so yeah, they're all like pretty visually distinct. These guys are all purifiers. Oh, don't fall down. They're not totally cured yet. So they have like the shoulder-mounted cannon, like the Desert Zaku. See that if you know your Gundam stuff, because the purifiers have 3 shooting attacks. Then we've got the interceptors, which are like the jump pack guys, and they have those little pylons coming out of their backpack. So having those just for like tabletop continuity. I want to add a Tech Marine, so a little kit bash this little guy, little Zaku Tech Marine guy. Um, and some other things like one of the stuff I'm painting on right now. I've got this guy who is a high mobility Zaku with the extra boosters in the Zaku Bazooka. So that's a Brotherhood champion. Oh, Eduardo, thanks for that follow. Yeah, that's exactly They're just I love Gretchen, like the little aspects of Gretchen in 40k Orcs, and that was kind of the whole thing. Is like the Gretchen are the more like sneaky. They're the more like technologically minded of the Orcs. They have their killicans and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I was like, well, if they're gonna pretend to wear power armor and like all this kind of stuff, it'd be Gretchen. Um, and they got like this guy. It's gonna be my Grandmaster Voldus. And some of this stuff is from Puppets War. So like the base of this model is from Puppets War. The base of my Terminators are from Puppets War that I've just like messed with. Done some kit bashing on. I show you some of the painted stuff, but it's still in my case. It's up in my car. But one thing I do have on the desk, because I started painting some of this yesterday, is this big guy. So, like I was saying, I already have a Space Marines army, so using them as Space Marines didn't really make a lot of sense. And I picked Grey Knights, mostly because I haven't played them before in this edition. I don't have an army of Grey Knights. I've never had an army of Grey Knights. But also they have the Nemesis Dread Knights, which are cool because that opens up a lot of modeling opportunities. So like one of my Dread Knights is a aquatic mobile suit. One of the Dread Knights is the Gundam that's all worked out. And then this one is one of the floating mobile armors that I've taken the torso and other parts from the Saturnine Dreadnought. And I made these shoulder replacements. Like this whole thing is like a monolithic piece that I made in 3D. And then I had a bunch of orc assets that I just like smashed in there to make the big shoulder armor and like the floating assemblies. And then I had this baseline around. This is cool. So years and years ago, Elric's Hobbies made some bases for Titanicus that are all of a different scale. So you can see this is all tiny. And so this kind of works because like all these guys are supposed to be like 15 meters tall. So this isn't exactly to scale, but it has a cool effect. It makes our mobile armor look extra big, like we're playing with perspective, which is kind of neat. And I was like, for years I've had that base, and I was like, what do I do with this? It doesn't work with anything. And so I was like, oh, perfect. It's the right size and everything. It'll be good. All right, our last guys. Nope, why are you the one guy? Fucking with my steez. No, you're all fucked up too. It's last two. Let's give you a zip kicker. All fucked up. Everybody else is like super solid and already totally dry. And these Terminators. Okay. Yes. Trying to think. So I have a Razorback in the army, and I sculpted, or I guess fabricated is the right word, a bunch of like add-on parts for the Razorback, and printed those. But the model itself is plastic. The mobile armor I just showed, it's from a GW kit. And then everything else is printed. Yeah. This might be the first army uh, I've ever had that like the majority of everything is printed. Um, Most of my stuff now has some form of like custom aspect to it that I'll use my printer for, just because it's such a great tool for it. Um, but this army is kind of like the first one where like the majority of it is all printed out. Find trade for these jabronis. Wonder how many I can fit on here. These guys there. Um, so those guys that I just put away, those are granite purifiers. So these guys are like the desert Zaku that has the cannon on his shoulder. Because the purifier has 3 shooting attacks. I guess technically not 3, but like they have their purifying flame, which is kind of the main reason you take purifiers, and they have their storm bolter, and then other guys in the unit have like a heavy weapon. Um, uh, and so I wanted those to be like visually distinct. I also have tokens for everything, which helps. So I made these. So like, see, I've got one for the interceptors, which are these guys with their little like pylons on the backpack. Terminators, Strike Squad, Purifier Squad. Then opens up the. I made these as well, so these can follow around the big guys, or the Dread Knights that has their weapon loadouts. Just so that way there's no like hyper autist that gets all pissy at me. So I've already got these other 2 characters to a pretty like middle point, where I'm just blocking in their basic colors after some airbrushing. And so I'd like to get our Tech Marine kind of the same spot, so we can kind of work him for a little bit. And also talk about kind of what I do to prep models for paint. Water first. Glove up here. I don't have a holder for this guy. I kind of bought these on a whim, just to test them out. Not the biggest fan of them. These things barely open up enough to put a 40 mil base in them. So if I was working on like one model in my free time, it's probably fine for that. But Uh, bulk batch painting, I probably want a different type of folder. Maybe something a little bit smaller. Normally what I use is these little rubber corks from a chemistry set. You can get them in big old bags on Amazon, hella cheap. These are great. Um, but they take a little bit of prep, so I'd have to like kind of clean off any paint, and then use like double-sided tape, something like that. Um, I used to have like a little metal cap that I could, magnetize these guys to, that I could hold on to, but I lost it at some point. I don't know what I did with it. Um, so I don't know. Maybe on my next trip to Home Depot, I'll see if I can find some little metal gubbins that'll stick to a magnet that I can use as holders. Are you looking for something that's like print on demand or just a file that you can print yourself? So, even though this guy is cleaned and cured, you can see I've done like a little bit of sanding. I've done some gluing, so there's a bunch of like zip kicker residue all over this guy. So before I paint any of my prints, I always take some alcohol on the airbrush and just blast them. Just like blast all that dust and stuff off of there. Have the alcohol kind of neutralize any finger oils from the skin handling these guys. Blast that off and have it evaporate up. Oh, so for your chaos spawn, um, you mentioned that it's like different. It's hard to get them in your country. Are you trying to get stuff print on demand, where you just order a 3D print, or are you looking for the actual digital file? Ah, okay. Well, I mean, like there's Colts3D.com. You can find just about anything there. There's also myminifactory.com, and as far as I know, there's not any like geographical sales restrictions. Timer. I don't know of a chaos spawn file like off the top of my head by name, but I'm pretty confident you could go to my mini factory or Colts and very quickly and easily find a chaos spawn um, you're liking. The trick is to search using really broad terms um, that aren't really the actual name of a games workshop run. So like if I was looking for it, I wouldn't search chaos. I would search like just chaos demons, and you're gonna have to like go through everything, but I'm sure you'll be able to find something. Um, because if you use like a search query that's too specific, then you may not be able to find what you're looking for because people intentionally don't use the same names or wordings. Um, so I mean, like demon, just you can type in like demons by itself, or demon beast, demon abomination, something like that, because those are all really broad terms that um, you can't like file a claim against. And then if you're looking for a specific thing, like for your world eaters, a lot of people will substitute stuff like they're not going to use corn because that's a Games Workshop thing, but they might say like demon of bloodlust or demon of hatred or demon of war or something like that because that's going to be kind of that vibe for the world eaters or for corn demons. So while this primer is drying, I'm going to grab some paint. Neutral gray. Ooh. Some white ink. Yeah, no worries, dude. So this guy's going to be a tech green, but I think I want him to skew a little orange. Rather than just pure red. So I'm going to grab some of this ink. This flame red from Daily Rowney. I'm really liking this for doing these types of shades of red because red is kind of a weird paint color. I'm not a chemist, so I don't know exactly why, but red paint, regardless of the shade, it tends to layer with itself and other shades of red very, very smoothly, very, very like subtly to a point where like it's really hard. Like if you were to pick a triad of reds, like dark red, medium red, bright red, and then you did your airbrush workup, those reds are going to layer into each other in such a subtle way that you're not going to have a lot of transition to your gradient, not a lot of contrast between the dark and the bright. It's just kind of weird. I don't know why it does that, but like Monument paints is the same way. Games Workshop paints have done that. Aren't like all the red paints I've ever used do it that way. But if you use a pre-shade with something like red ink, you can really get that full transition of dark to bright with the single shade and have all of that contrast. Example I have on my desk here is one of the Zaku's from Gundam Assemble that I'm working on, where if we look at our red, this is just one shade of red over a pre-shade. We have all of that nice gradient contrast where it's brightest at the top and then we got the shadows and all that stuff. So, been liking how that's turning out. I think I'm just going to make that kind of my go-to for painting red armor. I've got a couple of different kinds. I think this is fluorescent. I don't want that. So I've got pure magenta. If you want to skew more towards like the pinkish purpley range, it's really good. Crimson, which is a little bit different. You can see how there's a little bit of a difference between the flame and the crimson. And I want to say that we used the flame red on our Gundam Assemble model, so I might just use that. I think that's what I'm going to use again. And then I wanted to skew a little bit more on the orange side. I can always do like a transparent use of orange from one of our acrylics over the top of that. I think it's really good and dry paste. Go ahead and clean the airbrush while we wait. Also, what I do is fan turned on. That way, let's address it. Just put them there. Put them there. We're getting close. Okay, let's get our neutral gray. We don't need a whole lot for one model. Really good. So, airbrush thinner. A little tiny bit. Blow improver. Tiny bit. Fine. Turn your air down. Cool. So now I'm just going to go over in my high angle, very gently build up some of this neutral gray. That's about all we need. Super quick and easy. I'm not trying to do anything too crazy with that. I'll rinse this out. Turns out pretty fast. So we'll go ahead and get our ink. Using this one from AK. I've used the one from Daily Rowney. It's just as good. It's fine. Don't know a lot of this. This stuff is really, really thin. I don't use any thinner or flow improver with it. I'll make sure my hair is turned down nice and soft. Now we can start focusing a few areas. So like, I feel like in a normal Space Marine model, just do our little head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Yeah. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this guy and stick him in front of the fan real quick because with this white ink, it will mute out as it dries. It'll kind of like so you'll see exactly how transparent it is. It'll kind of mute out. The color will dim a little bit as it dries because it's such a thin paint. Um, so I like to do 2 passes just to make sure where it's like get it dried out, see how it's gonna look, then you can come back and add a little bit more white because you don't want to blast it. You don't want to have too much white content because what that'll do is it completely removes your gradient that we built up using our pre-shade technique. It's not the end of the world, but you know, then your model ends up having a very like solid color rather than a gradient. So it's just better to play it on the safe side and I'll let that ink dry out a little bit and then hit it a second time. Yeah, so I'm noticing like these areas dimmed down, add a little bit. So that's why we want to do that double check. Add shoulders, knees, and toes one more time. Let's add spots. Okay. Liking that, it's looking pretty good. Okay. Set that back in front of the fan. Clean this white ink out of here. So we want to get all that pigment out before we put in our red. We don't want it to contaminate it at all. A lot of times with acrylic paints, um, you can hot swap your colors. You don't have to worry about it too much. If you're going from like black to white, you probably want to get it really clean, you know. But if I'm going like a triad of greens or blues or browns or what have you, I don't. It doesn't have to be surgically clean in between those colors. But for here, the inks are so densely pigmented. Definitely want to get as much of that out of there as we can, so that our red doesn't pink out on us. Okay, it's pretty good. Just spray it on my glove. You can see there's not really any pigment coming out. Good. Get this a little bit more direct air from the airbrush. Make sure it's really dry. I'm going to move out of the danger zone. Okay. There, red ink going. Yeah, I'm going to turn my hair down. This stuff is really, really thin, densely pigmented, so I don't want it to build up too wet in any one spot. Yeah. And then I'm just going to gently go back and forth. So this is, what I want is very thin individual layers. I don't want to focus too much on any one spot. I just want to tint the whole model. And then I want to take a look at what it looks like. And get all the angles in time. Okay. So he's looking a little pink right now. It's kind of to be expected. But this is what I want. I don't want to like focus and be like, the helmet is like perfect. Then you have to match that same workup over the everywhere else. Just like do a full pass, see what it looks like, let it kind of dry out, and then we'll do another one, and a third or a fourth if needed. Give it some air. Okay. Gonna get all the angles. Okay, so I'd equate that to probably about three passes. Looking good. I don't think we missed anywhere. I don't think there's any little like tidy spots that we missed out on. Red's looking really nice. Like I said, I do want to kind of skew it a little bit orange. So clean the airbrush out real quick, and then we'll grab one of our oranges. And then we'll do kind of the same idea. We'll thin it out really, really thin. And then we'll just do kind of a transparent coat over the top. Skew this red a little bit into the orange range. I want to go for that sort of like more construction-y color, reddish orange. Plastic glue, plastic cement. I mean, yeah. I mean, like you know what it does, right? It's not an adhesive. It causes a chemical reaction that melts the plastic together. I guess like my pro tip, other than just like take your time, be meticulous, be careful. My pro tip is don't use plastic cement that comes in a bottle with one of those like needle tips on it, or just like a pour tip. Like, so this is super glue, right? But like it has like a little dropper tip on it. Like I don't use plastic glue from these. There's almost never a time where you need thick plastic glue. It's kind of a gimmicky product. Doesn't really do anything different from thin plastic glue. You're not going to be closing gaps with it because it evaporates. It's not super glue or super glue hardened as a hard thing. Plastic glue or plastic cement, it evaporates. So that, and I always recommend getting something like this. This is from Tamaya. They make a couple of different kinds. Um, this is like the thickest plastic cement that I would ever use, and it's still a brush tip, and it still drips like a liquid. You see? Um, yeah, so I would highly recommend using one that has a brush, because the thing that happens with plastic glue is that like it evaporates and it leaves behind a residue in those needles, or it'll like solidify inside those little needles. Games Workshop one is notorious for this, and then you have to sit there with like a lighter and like heat it up to where it burns out that residue, and you can pour plastic glue again. And then you're like pouring plastic glue into a spot where it's like it's gonna flow everywhere and it gets everywhere. And like if you're holding a piece and like you get plastic glue on it, it's gonna react to the plastic, and then your fingerprint gets melted into the plastic, and you're like, well, fuck, now I gotta sand that out. It's just don't do it. Get something like this where you have like a tiny little brush, and you're holding your pieces, and you just go little tiny little brush in there, squeeze it together, and done. And easy peasy. There's other companies that make this. You don't have to get the Tamiya one. Like Testers, some other American companies. You can get it on Amazon, super cheap, easy, fast. Everybody kind of starts their 40K journey in a different way. Like I started my 40K journey buying stuff from a local game store, and so like I was not. And also, I built plastic model kits with my dad as a kid. So I was never like indoctrinated into the GW as the best thing. And so like a lot of times people be like, "Oh yeah, just get this." I'm like, I don't know, that looks dumb. Citadel paint pots. Where I'm like, why would I get this paint pot that just like doesn't seal good and dries out? When I could get, So, but just to kind of show you, here's like two pieces. So I got my hand around a little arm, just kind of paint it on there. Boop, boop, boop. Paint a little bit on that hand. And make sure the flat is on the flat. Give it a little squeeze. Okay, cool. Now, it's not totally cured. It takes 10-15 more seconds for it to get kind of hard, but yeah, it's that easy. Super, super easy. Good question. Give me time for my paint to dry. Get out our orange from Pro. And like I said, I don't need a whole lot of this. Literally just like get 2 little drops. Boop, that's all I need. Maybe a third smear in there just to not waste it. And then a little bit of Thorncooper. A little bit thinner. Put water in my brush. Stir that up. Heck yeah, dude. Welcome to the hobby. Thanks for that follow as well. What's going on here, Airbrush? Gonna do the same thing with this ultra thin orange paint. Mostly focusing on the top areas so that we maintain a lot of contrast. Not totally from the top. You don't ever want to do like a just only this, only from the top. You don't want to turn your model around. You can, as long as your airbrush is not like spraying like so. You can spray from the front. You just want to make sure it's like at an angle like this. You just don't want to go underneath if you're trying to maintain your shadows. This is really thin, so just give it some air. A little more paint. Really good enough. Getting a nice like reddish orange color. Let that dry. I'll just put it in front of the fan. Sure the airbrush is nice and clean. Because the next thing I'll need it for is varnish. And I want any pigment in there. Get it nice and cleaned up. Yeah, a little bit. I guess we could say that's the Psycho Zaku. I was gonna add one eventually, because I have a lot of the other stuff represented. So, like this character is a high mobility Zaku. He's got the extra boosters. A little orcified Zaku bazooka that I made. And then the other character I have is a goof. He's like a little Rambo Rao rot, the blue, but that's in my case. So I guess we could call that one the Psycho Zaku if we really wanted to. That get good and dry. We were doing a little one thing last time. Yeah. So my friend got me these little like eggs, random eggs from a machine, and we opened one the last time before I had to go off to Adepticon, and it was just like a little backpack. So I think they're all supposed to end up making like one guy. I'm not quite sure. You get to play the game multiple times out, so it's like because yeah. So we got like the little pack, and so maybe in one of these we'll get the guy. Well, maybe two different guys. I don't know. But I've been wanting to open these, and I said that I would do it on stream. So we wait for paint to dry. Oh yeah, he's super fun to goof. Speaking of 8th MS team, if you weren't here at the top of the show, I was showing off my third Dread Knight, which is this guy, which I just started painting. But this is the Saturnine Dreadnought with a bunch of orc parts that I sculpted up, which you'll recognize from 8th MS team. And it was cool because I was saying I have this base. So There's a base company called Elric's Hobbies that we've been sponsored by for many years. And when Titanicus came out years ago, they made bases like this that are at a different scale for the Titans. And so I was like, oh, this would be perfect for my little mobile armor. It makes it look even bigger, playing with perspective a little bit. What else we get? So open it. Let's see what we get. I always forget how to open this. What do I squeeze and pull? Oh, there we go. Okay, what did I get? This is definitely not a guy. Oh, this is from Double O. This is the little riser jet fighter, I think. Backpack. Oh yeah, this is like a different set. Yeah, so oh no, another backpack. Damn it. I don't know. Still cool though. I could probably paint this. Use it for something. Let's open our third one. I think this is a guy. I want to say this is a guy. I see a lot of polycaps and stuff. It's my knife. It's not only like a plastic thing, it's also adhesive. What are they? Do you guys know? I know they're called something, but I don't remember off the top of my head. What are those machines called that you get like the little toy capsules? All right, what do we get? Oh, was it Crossbone Gundam? I'd be so stoked. It's Crossbone. Okay. So it could be Crossbone, whatever the Strike E is, or a Nemo. See a lot of green. Is it a Nemo? Oh, sick. It's a Nemo. Hell's yeah, dude. Love these little guys. Fuck yeah. Lots of like heat warp its shield back into place. I think you can paint these. I painted something like these toys in the past from Bandai. They paint pretty okay. It'll be cool. A little polycap section. Sick, dude. Oh, okay, so here's the instructions. Oh yeah, this is like a fully closable little guy. Neat. Yeah. Today was supposed to be kind of a prep day for me too. I'm gonna get all this stuff. I was like, I have to get everything printed and put on bases before Wednesday, because Wednesdays are the weekly Warhammer night, and so I've already got the 1,000 points that I painted for Adepticon. So I was like, I need this other 1,000 points, so it's like playable, and I can start getting reps while I paint it. I also got a bunch of these. Which one is this? Got a bunch of these. The Gundam Artifact miniature line, which are more or less about the exact same scale as Gundam Assemble. So I plan on using a couple of these for custom models when I start painting out my Assemble collection. Let's check our dude here. Oh yeah, he's very orange. Looking good. We're pretty good in try. So now, gonna look and see, is there anything that I need to paint, or is there any reason that I need to put on decals now rather than later? I always ask myself that question in my workflow. So for this guy, I don't think so. He's really only got a spot or two for decals, which is like right here and right here. So I think I can go ahead and just start blocking in our other components. Um, So I think real fast, fastest thing we can do is some of our metals. Uh, silver, silver. I think I have a gun metal somewhere. Oh, okay. Gotta search for it. Oh, it's right here. Nice. Just do this quick fast. This is one of the cool things about these markers is blocking in components like this. Super easy. It's not a ton faster than using a brush because obviously this has a brush tip and I'm basically using it like a paintbrush, but it does save a good amount of time because I don't have to thin paint. I don't have to get paint out of a container onto my palette. I don't constantly have to like reload and clean out my brush, all that. Not the most accurate thing. You can see that the brush tip isn't super small. I'd equate it to maybe like a size 4 paintbrush. So I'm not painting in details with this, but for blocking in large components, it is very useful and it saves me some time. And I'm all about those time saves. Love being time efficient. Just one angle. Get that. Get that. Boop, boop, boop. Easy peasy. Get our big servo arm. Pulled this servo arm out of my bits box. And it's got to be this piece has to be more than 20 years old. This is an original metal bit from Games Workshop. I don't know what Tech Marine it came off of, but it's just been rattling around in my bits box. and I thought it was kind of cool because it's like that older, clunkier sculpting style, which kind of fits my dudes. And I thought it was kind of neat to have a part that was this old on a newfangled 3D printed model. So, Sergeant Belko, what are you starting off with on 40k? What do you like pick a whole faction? You starting off with just a handful of random models? It's a little area left. It's kind of hard to get to. The thing with these markers you got to be careful about is because the brush tip is synthetic, there's a lot of snap to it. So you have a very light hand. Um, 'Cause if you just like flick the bristles everywhere, it'll fling little pink droplets all over the place. Nice. Got it. Oh, let's get right in here. I think we got it all. Nice. Let's get our axe and his little stone bolter. Probably end up doing some kind of power weapon effect on these, like um, since all my little Zaku dudes have heat hawks, that's how I painted them. But for this initial step, we're just blocking everything in. I'm just gonna paint the whole thing in gunmetal, and then I can go back and like cut in the power weapon effects. Hello, what's up, dude? Pretty good, dude. Um, just been chilling. Uh, Dude, last month was so incredibly busy, having to go from really February and March were just a complete sprint the entire way. Uh, Getting everything ready for CTC, then right into Adepticon. So I have straight up just been home chilling. uh, so I'm back to uh, my workflow. I've got a goal to get all of this stuff painted by the end of the month so that it's ready for a tournament. And I talked to my guy who is I don't know if you met Jason when he was not crazed, but Jason McKenzie, who was one of the Green Banner guys. He was a judge at Adepticon. Anyways, he's like the head rules guy for Green Banner events. And I was like, well, I want to make sure that this army, it's very themed, which I get. So I wanted to make sure that it was cleared to play ball, and he cleared it. And so I was like, hell yeah, let's go. So I'm taking that 1,000 points and turning it into 2,000 points. Yeah. I think the only time was during the doubles. He came by a few times. We were chatting, but okay. Got our main gunmetal components blocked in. Already starting to look really cool. Marker for the win. It's so funny, dude. I was talking to Jesse the other day, and I was like, Jesse, did you buy the Gundam Assemble card backs? And he was like, no. And I was like, oh, well, then why didn't you want any of the Gundam models that I brought to Adepticon? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, bro, I took them out of my bag. I gave the Tallgeese to Kalini. And then I was like, let me see if Jesse wants any of these. And I was like, Jesse, do you want any of these? Holding the sprues out. And he was like, no. I was like, okay. And then I just gave them all to you. And he was like, that's what those were? I was like, brother, you didn't even look at what it was before you denied them? He's like, yeah, I just didn't, I disassociated. I was like, well, you learned a valuable lesson, Jesse. Alright, what's next? Alright, let's try out this guy. See what this gold marker looks like. I got these. What's this brand? I don't know how I'm supposed to say it. DSPIAE. I'm not sure. Anyways, I want to try these out. So let me see. Ooh. Ooh. Looking at it, you wouldn't think this gold would be that strong. But it is. Cover's fantastic. Wow, look at that. Very, very yellow gold. Nice. Oh yeah, dude. I saw a guy on Instagram use these for some Gunpla stuff, and I was like, ooh, because I've used the chrome markers in the past, but they have those like kind of hard plasticky tips to them, and these have a felt tip that's really sharp. So I mean, first like this area in here is still kind of tricky, where like a brush I would have more control, but like I was saying with the gunmetal marker, this is just it's still ultimately a time save because I don't have to get paint out and like futz with thinning it and do all that. So I'm still like having to take my time and be very meticulous with drawing this in on our trim piece, but ultimately it's faster. And I like showing off markers and stuff like this because I know that not everybody has the same motor control with brushes. And so something like a marker might be really easy for them. Might like bridge that gap. And I mean like that's about as clean as you're gonna get. Um, the trim on these is kind of wonky. It's orc stuff, but well, thanks for that sub. Appreciate you. I don't know if I had any other gold pieces on this. Do this. I'll give him like a gold, like wrestling belt, I guess. And like me for many years, I was like a sketch guy, so being able to just use a marker like that to just cut in a little component, ooh, it's cool. And then I guess we could do. Let's just like fully try it. Cut in some of these with some gold. Yeah, the AK stuff. I like those. I used one of their brush tips to do all the gunmetal. It's kind of hit and miss. Like the felt tip ones they make are super cool. Oops. The felt tip markers they make are cool, but they're kind of like stubby, a little fat. Um, and they're all like scale model colors. They only make two metallics. They make like silver and aluminum, or like gunmetal and aluminum. Um, and so I saw this guy use these D Spy whatever brand. And the whole set is like it's like gold, gunmetal. No, it's like gold, black metal, gunmetal, silver, and then red, green, blue, and purple metallic. Is one set. So super handy. The other thing is like this doesn't have to be super surgically perfect because I am gonna do our washes and weathering and all that. I'm just kind of like cutting them in to have some extra detail. And this is one of those things where it's like this marker specifically has a lot of interest for me because of like chaos, where I'm gonna have to paint a ton of gold trim. So this would save me like so much time, and these big fat markers are like a lot better for your hand where you're not like exuding as much effort to grip them. I wish this gold was like a little bit more brown content to it, but this is fine. You know, this is more of like a sci-fi like NASA gold than kind of a bronzy gold, but works perfectly for our needs. Sick. No. Oh yeah, dude. I just like having to thin out the gold paint and like keep your brush cleaned out and like all that kind of stuff. It's just like painting gold sucks. It's like there really is no way around it. It always sucks. I hate it. And I typically always have to like mix a color because as much as I love Monument, they don't really have a gold that is like the one and done gold. Um, if you remember Scale 75 paints, back when they made good paint, they had a gold called Viking Gold. And it was like, for me, it was the perfect gold for like all things Warhammer because it was a yellow gold, but it had a little bit of red, a little bit of brown, but it was still gold. It wasn't like copper or bronze. And I was like, it's perfect. It's the only gold I'll ever need ever. And then like they quit making it. It's like, no. And then so with like Monument, I always have to take like rich gold, bronze, and copper and kind of mix them together to get the gold that I want. And it's just time consuming. Let's see here. So now what we can try is I want to see what this looks like. If we fuck it up, like whatever. Um, this is one of my gold chromes from Ray Studios. Put a little bit over this gold. What does that give us? Not a whole lot different. It's just kind of more reflective is all. Not really getting too much out of that. Eh. Like it's like one or the other. That's fine. Okay, so next, not a whole lot of difference here. So we've got all these little dags all over his armor, and so I think in keeping with Tech Marine vibe, I'm gonna alternate them black and white. Ugh, gross. Painting white. This is where I would like an extra teeny tiny fine felt tip marker for stuff like this. But we're gonna have to go back to a brush. Man. Gotta work. think maybe next year, dude, I'll enter something in the what is it called? Are miniatures as art or miniatures are art? I don't the monument hobbies thing. I thought you won something. Am I wrong? But I saw that you won a painting award. Was it a different painting competition? Oh, you did Resident Beast. I see. Okay. Sick, dude. Well, congratulations. Uh, yeah, I think I'm gonna enter Jason's thing. Um, I have a pretty strong feeling that next year, um, Gundam Assemble is gonna be at Adepticon as an event. Um, and so I talked to a couple of the guys that were hanging out at the Monument Hobbies booth, and we struck up a conversation because I was wearing my Gundam jacket, and we were talking about Gundam stuff, and they were showing that they had entered a couple of uh, Gundam Assemble figs from the promo packs. So that was super cool to talk about. Um, so next year, since I'll probably be bringing stuff to play in a Gundam Assemble event, I can do a Gundam Assemble fig for the competition. It makes sense for you because you're like a multiple months on a paint job kind of guy. Uh, so I'm trying to alternate these, and like it's gonna be right under his armpit. There's a tiny little triangle right here. This is one of my, I guess you can call them first generation Gretchen Zaku's. So for like all the subsequent ones, I went back into Blender and I took a lot of this detail off of them. A lot of these little like dag overlays and stuff because I was like, it's just too much paint. It's too much. But this guy still got all of it, so I'm gonna paint it on. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, if you should play Gundam Assemble, dude. Ah, dang it. Yeah, one of the reasons I wanted to remove a lot of this is because this detail is too shallow. So like your instinct is to kind of use the detail to kind of like skip your brush on, but because it's so shallow, it wants to like lead off the edge. Yeah, dude. It's always the barrier, dude. I feel your pain. Um, I have a feeling that it's not going to be super popular locally, and I'm just going to have to keep the flame alive by myself. So most gamers, they kind of have bandwidth for like one game, which is why it's like if you're in Warhammer, like Warhammer is your thing, you know? So maybe we will. I'm gonna try to sort of stump speech for it and get a local scene spun up because it's gonna be such a cheap investment to play. But I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of hopes. I'm mostly gonna enjoy like painting the models, and sometimes the only way to play will be on TTS or at an event like Adepticon. Um, okay, I think we could do black ones now. No, let me do a second coat on a couple of these. Oh, got a little. Let's see if this works. So these markers they came with this guy an eraser pen. So I wonder if I can. Oh no! 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 That went right to the plastic. Well, it did indeed erase the gold. Okay. Lesson learned. Oh no. Oh, well, not the end of the world. It's fine. It's fine. We're fine. Maybe this will. I think I can take this orange red and like it'll mute out with the washes and such. All right. So there are tags. I want is the satin black. it indeed was an eraser pen. Yeah, yeah. I guess like if you're so a lot of the Gundam modelers, what they do is they just use those pens on like directly on the plastic, the colored plastic of the models. Um, where like if you're painting, if it's the red Zaku, all the plastic is already in the right colors for the most part. They just use the markers for like detail work, and if you fuck up, you can use that eraser pen to like clean it off, and so it's not a big deal. But yeah, it straight up just was just like it ate that paint right off of there. Now I know. Okay. Switch to a smaller brush. We'll go ahead and cut in the little mono eye shadow zone, whatever this is called. I think I'm cut in this little spot. I'll probably switch to what is the name of this paint? Dark Sea Pen for our rubber. Now that I think about it, Kalini, I might hit you up. Um, so I kind of want to do like some stickers that I can hand out to people for this army. So I think like a cool little like sticker sized piece of art that is the Gretchen in like a pilot helmet or something. Be fun. Yeah, dude. I'll send you a message over in Discord after the stream. So I think I should probably hop on it because I want to say that the fastest I can get them from the joint that makes the stickers is like 14 days or so, and so I want to make sure to have them in time for the tournament in the first week of May. Cool. I think that's all she wrote on those colors. I do need to do the purple for the Heat Hawk. Heat Hawks are purple. And then that'll be all of our base colors cut in. I think I can do paint order too. I'm running out of a lot of stuff. Like this dark purple. There's not anything in this. Ah, dang it. It's probably too much. It's funny how this is like, it kind of works. I like this. I think I'm gonna take some of this neutral gray that we still got out. Just do like a quick swipe on our mono eye because I'm gonna put fluorescent pink on there. So that'll be kind of like the backstop for our fluorescent pink later. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So like all of the original stuff from Gundam, uh, I want to say up until Unicorn, really, in the UC, um, it's all traditional like cell shaded. So they use inks, right? All those. So all of the colors originally for everything are just slightly desaturated. That's kind of their vibe. Um, and so because you're taking like purple, you're getting your shade of purple, and then you're adding like a tiny amount of like a light gray to it to desaturate it. It makes it more of a neutral color in a lot of sense. Um, Obviously, our orange is like super orange, but if we're talking about like Zaku green or like Char's Zaku, which is actually more of like a pinkish color because of the desaturation, um, because all those colors kind of skew into a more neutral range, they go with a lot of stuff. Just kidding. Okay, I'm just gonna do a quick, a little bit more dark sea bend. Um, I use dark sea bend as the dark base coat for our kind of tarmac concrete. So I'm just gonna like kind of black that out. And then I'll paint it all in. I'll do like our gray workup before I do all of our washes. But this will just give us like kind of a contrasting color so that he pops on his base a little bit more. So I'm basically to a point where uh, we're just gonna do like a quick gloss varnish, and that's sort of like my stopping spot. So we've been streaming almost 3 hours, which is kind of our limit. So once this dries, we'll do a gloss varnish and we'll call it a night. So the next thing is decals. Yeah. Ah. So I don't think you saw this cleaning, but I'll zoom out and show it again before we leave. So as my third Dread Knight, I made the mobile armor from 8th MS team. Started working on that. So I went in and I made these big shoulder replacements. Like each half is like one big monolithic piece, and I like kitbashed all of these orc assets onto it and like sculpted on it to make it all like make the armor panels all shitty and everything. This is the Saturnine Dreadnought torso. So I took the plastic torso and its weapons because it has this big, I think it's called a Grav Lux Bombard as one of its arm cannons, and I was like, oh, so it's got like kind of an egg-shaped body, and it's got this thing, which is like the same deal as the Apsalis. And so I was just like, boop, make that, and then I sculpted these, printed them out, slapped those on there, and I got this base. So Elric Salvi's made these bases for Titanicus years ago, and I've had one in my drawer just rattling around for like 5 years or 6 years, however long it's been. I'm like, I'll never be able to use this because it's this different scale entirely from 40k. But for this guy, it's perfect because now it's like it makes the Apsalis look like huge. You know, plays with perspective, super neat. And then part of the caveat to play this army at like legitimate GTs is I needed tokens. So I made these little like kind of dog tag style tokens that I'm gonna paint that can just sit on his base. Like, this is an Nemesis Dread Knight. Like, these are its weapons. Chill. And then I went ahead and I made little tokens for the other squads just to make double sure. And made myself some OPSEC tokens. They're always useful, especially with the Grey Knights mechanic, where their mechanic is you need to hold objectives, and then it like locks down a portion of the board. So like the detachment rule is that you always reroll hit rolls when you attack. So it's a solid rule. But if you're in hallowed ground, you get full hit rerolls. And so you extend your hallowed ground by holding objectives. So it's like your deployment zone is always hallowed no matter what. And then you have to hold at least half of the objectives in no man's land, and then that unlocks hallowed ground for the mid-table. And then you have to steal your opponent's objective to have it in their DZ. But so I don't think I'll ever really need more than 3. If I need more than 3, then we'll make it work. But some cool little OPSEC tokens. And then I was working on, I don't know if you saw this or not, but I was working on my Zaku for a symbol before we went to Adepticon. So we've got this guy in the channel colors and a little X base. I made my own bases because the promos came with these, but the actual game they use hex bases, so it's 50mm hex bases. Where's my? I had extra somewhere over here. Okay, there. So yeah, these were just super easy to mock up in Blender to make a nice little clean beveled hex base. Because the bases they come with, that they've shown, they're like, they're not, I mean, like textured. They're like sculpted, textured kind of bases that are like in this sort of hanger digital thing. I don't know how to exactly describe it, but I mean, like, if you look up the the pre-orders, you see what the bases look like. So like that's fine, but it really limits your ability to do any type of like diorama style base. Um, and so I just made my own, and that way I could like put texture on them to be within scale, and you can source little pieces like this. It's like a piece of rubble from MCP that's sort of like scale agnostic. So I could like slap that on a base and have a mobile suit standing on it, or I could have it like, if I wanted to completely black out the base, I could have it floating, like they're in space. That'd be cool. So I know I forgot to bring the bases for you guys, so you have to figure it out. But I assume that you would kind of like make those more painting projects. So maybe you do like a display diorama plinth, or you can find MDF where they'll make base toppers kind of like this, which is sort of scale agnostic. Like this would work fine for assemble. Almost. Let me put this in front of the thing. Yeah, dude, learning Blender is rough. And I still like, dude, there's so much about Blender I still have no idea about. Like, I basically learned how to make objects. I learned how to make objects in Blender and like sculpt in Blender. Um, but anything beyond that, I have not even attempted to learn. And that piece of software is it, it's so dense. Yeah, it really. I think what I might do too, like if I really decide that I want to get into it more and actually become proficient in sculpting and stuff, I might just see if there's like a community college course that you can just take, like a la carte, just like maybe take a couple of semesters where you actually learn Blender in a structured environment. Yeah. It's either that or I invest in a a tablet and use I'm trying to think of the program. I want to say Procreate, but I don't know if that's it or not. There's a really really popular 3D blending or 3D sculpting software that is sort of tied to touchscreen devices. You've probably seen it on Instagram and stuff. Um, that one seems way more intuitive and easier to pick up and like do a lot of the things that we want to do for like making models and such. Um, but like I said, you need a tablet for it. So I might just invest in a tablet. Oh yeah, dude. There's a guy. You can check him out. He makes like these sort of like quirky pseudo comedy videos. His name is Worthy Kids on YouTube, and his illustration style and animation style is like grease pencil, but he does all of it in Blender. It's like 100% Blender, and I'm just like blown away because I'm like, how do you even do something like that? Check him out. Boy, nice and glossy for decals. And then he's also done some stuff where it's like I forget the company. You know, like when we were kids, they had the claymation stuff like Rudolph, um, and that kind of this claymation like TV films. You know what I'm talking about? Very 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 distinct style for those. Um, he's done a couple of videos where he's been able to completely mimic that, but it all in Blender. Rankin Backs, that's what it is. Yes, yes, yes. So he's been able to completely mimic that for these videos in Blender. Like there's one, I don't know the name of it, but there's one where it's like a skeleton singing a country western song. Um, and you just watch it, and you're like, I can't fucking believe he made this in Blender. This is wild. All right, mission accomplished. Okay, it is time for me to get on out of here. So let's find somebody to raid. Please paint stuff. Let's see. Oh, right. Oh, is Rob Wheeler actually streaming? Yeah. Let's raid him. He is. Yeah, let's raid him. Alright. Start this raid up. Get that going. And we'll be back on Friday. Probably painting more of this stuff. It's been super fun. And then we'll kind of swap around doing maybe some like chaos, maybe doing some Gundam Assemble stuff. Be a fun month, but I'm gonna get out of here. So put this raid up.